Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is Brad Matheny. Today is the 14th of March, and I wanted to talk to you guys today about my SPY cycle patterns and to highlight the real value of what I do in my research. Every day over here, I am trying to unlock new and better ways for you to trade the markets. One of the things that I do every day is I share with you the SPY cycle patterns, which you can see here in this chart. Today was a great example of a reversal pattern, a gap reversal pattern that occurred in bearish trending, in potentially an explosive trend with a negative daily bias and a positive weekly bias. But what was interesting, ladies and gentlemen, is this. This was done early in the morning before the markets open. So you had no idea what was going to happen. But these predictions were made many years ago based on my SPY cycle patterns. They've been in place. They don't change very much. Only time they can change is when we get a time shift pattern, and that normally shifts the patterns forward by a couple of days. But understand that today, headed into the market, we knew that the market was likely to be a counter trend gap reversal in a bearish long-term trend and in a bearish short-term trend with potentially explosive volatility. We had a daily bias being bearish and we had a weekly bias being bullish. These haven't changed yet, although the daily bias is likely to change. Now, if we come back over here and take a look at the SPY, you will see here that the SPY did, in fact, gap up higher, reverse back to the upside. Very strong day for traders, knowing that this was going to take place and having this knowledge that it was going to take place days and weeks in advance. Now remember, the biasing mode has been bearish for many, many weeks. It actually went bearish back over here somewhere. But understand that we are soon to be maybe flipping into a daily bullish bias, which means we would expect upward trending, potentially targeting the levels that I had drawn earlier back over here. This is an area, I'll try to draw this for you, that I had drawn this area up here many weeks back, and if I am correct, we could see some sort of a rally phase up to the 425, 435 area in the SPY by the time we reach roughly April 10th, 15th, maybe 16th, 17th or so. Be a very strong move to the upside if it were to take place. Hypothetically, we'd be looking at about an 11% upside move in the SPY over the next possible month, maybe a little longer, so about 30, 35 days. And I want you to understand that this is something that is setting up. Now, let's go back over here and take a look at the SPY cycle patterns. Understand that the real value here is being able to guide your trading. As I mentioned to you, you really only need one or two good trades a day to start making some real money in the markets. And part of the work that I'm doing is to help you by developing this TT-MACD 3 MACD structure. So this is today. Here's our gap up right here. We had a long entry going into this trade. We had two targets take place, one in this area, one in this area. You can see, let me shrink this down a little. And remember, typically I ask you to run this as a Heikin-Ashi bar. But you can see we got into this trade, we hit our targets, we rallied up, and as soon as you start to see failing lows, this is where, notice this little low plus here and this little low plus here. This is where you're indicating that price is moving against us. This is now a shift in trend potentially. So as long as you're getting higher lows and higher highs, that's all great. As soon as you start to get these lower low indicators here, this is where you need to be cautious of a potential pullback. You can see the TT3 MACD system went short here, rallied down to the first target, You can see we get lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, higher high. This is where we need to start being cautious. And you can see down here, we went down here to hit our second target. May not have had the second target turned on here. Nope, let's turn it on. Came down, hit our second target area down here. We got a lower low down here. This should have been a warning that we were near the end of the downward trend. You can see the sloping system of the linear regressions got wider. This indicates that we have much greater volatility in this area. The wave 3D structure was bearish throughout this entire time frame, as well as the Donchians. Eventually, we rolled back up into an uptrend right before the end of trading here. Now, let's go back to the regular candles, and you can see here that we actually got a trigger right before the end of trading, about 15 minutes before the end of trading, and that's a healthy trigger, ladies and gentlemen. That's a good trigger to the upside. We knew that today was going to be a reversal bar, potentially, and it looked really solid. Now, tomorrow, we have a top pattern. Now, what happens in a top pattern, and I'm going to come back over here and draw this so you can see, just for the heck of it. I'll shrink this down. I don't need to worry about the bottom one. What happens at a top pattern, typically, is we will see more upward trending. I will draw this from this area, coming across maybe into this area, maybe back up into the 396, 397 area, and then potentially rolling over as we move into it. I've drawn that a little too long. Let's try it again. Coming up into the 395, maybe up in the 396, and then rolling over and stalling kind of in this area. So this is what would happen typically in a topping pattern. And a topping pattern means that the market is attempting to establish a top. So ideally, this would be our top right here. Or if I can draw it with a little arcing curve, this would be our top right here. And the topping pattern sets up a resistance area. The resistance area would be somewhere around here, maybe somewhere around here. Don't know exactly where it's going to be, ladies and gentlemen, but trying to give you a little hint that this would be a resistance area that will eventually get broken. Now we come back over here to the SPY cycle pattern, then we get a flat down day, then we get a breakaway, which is counter trend, okay? Breakaway, oh, sorry, it's carryover. Carryover trend is going to tell us essentially where we're at with this and how the market is performing. So if the daily bias flips to bullish and we get a breakaway bar that is a carryover trend, that means it's carrying over the general trend direction and bias direction. So I would expect a breakaway potentially to the upside. We get a rally 111 over on Saturday. We get a weekend gap pattern, and I'll expand this. A weekend gap, weekday. I'll have to check that real quick. But long and short of it is we get a gap up lower, which means we expect the markets to gap up higher and then come back down. Get another topping pattern, meaning the markets are going to try to go higher and form a top. We get a flat down, then we get a breakaway, then we get another rally day. Almost identical to this. When you get right down to it, we had a gap up lower, we have a top pattern, a flat down, breakaway, rally. Here's our gap reversal, top, flat down, breakaway, rally. Very similar. So, and then we had a gap up lower again. So we end up, looks like we get into this repeating pattern of a breakaway, which would look somewhat similar to this. We were to look at it from a very long-term picture. Now let me carry this forward. We get the flat down pattern, could be kind of flat down into the 16th. Then we get the breakaway and then rally. So if we got a breakaway, we could see something like this into the 17th. And then we get into the weekend, and now we get into the weekend here. We move into a gap up lower, could open up down in here, trade downward. Then we end up with a topping pattern, flat down and then breakaway. So a topping pattern could come back up, establish some sort of topping here, then a flat down, and then a breakaway back to the upside. Each one of these topping patterns sets up a new resistance channel. The gap up lower sets up a period up here, potentially a new resistance area as well. But you can see that what we're talking about is a rotation of higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows. That is predominantly an uptrend pattern. And if we get that same type of an uptrend pattern taking place from this area, get rid of this line and try to redraw it, then what we're looking at is a higher high, stalling out, a higher high, stalling out, a higher high, stalling out, potentially a higher high, stalling out, and then eventually reaching up here. And that is kind of what we're looking at from a long-term picture of the SPY cycle patterns. What this means for you is you need to try to target the best opportunity you have in these areas for growth. So these flat down days can give you some opportunity for trading, but you need to be aware that a flat down day is going to be fairly tight, fairly narrow, grab quick targets, and try not to ride any longer term trends. The breakaway bars, so let's come back over here and take a look at this. The breakdown or breakaway or topping patterns can be very good. Those typically indicate that we're seeing some sort of trending. Now, a topping pattern, remember, a topping pattern is really more of, and I'll try to draw it for you, more of a up and then down type of pattern. Maybe not that aggressive, maybe up and then down like this, maybe up and then down and then back up again, but it's establishing that high is what it's doing. That's what a topping pattern does. It establishes the high, which then tells us that we have a clear resistance area. A breakaway is more trending, like this. That's where you get into fairly strong trending, and that gives us an opportunity to ride longer term trends. So the point behind doing this is to show you what the structure of, let's see if I can do this, what the structure of the next few bars looks like with regards to my SPY cycle patterns, and to teach you to use the, I gotta shrink this down, 14, 15, use the linear regression channel, the Wave 3D, and the Donchian channels to help you understand where the opportunity exists. You can trade these very efficiently by simply watching and waiting and timing your entries. I know that a lot of you may be trading options, zero-day options, what have you, but we've had some real tremendous moves lately, and the next few weeks looks like we are going to see some real solid upward trending to the upside here. So pay attention that from a standpoint like this, we're still, even though the banking crisis came in, kind of wiped us out, as far as trending, that was a big crisis that took place last week. Could have ended up in a lot worse scenario, but given where we're at and given what we have going forward, I'm expecting kind of a recovery rally to move forward, still targeting this 425, 435 area up here. And remember, this has been my analysis, my prediction for many, many weeks, literally since January, February. I was warning that we're going to get a pullback and we're going to likely move to an end phase near April, sometime in mid-April or later, near the end of April, that's going to roll over into a downside move that'll carry us into June. So understand that you want to see my predictions, the way I've been sharing them to everybody. It's basically this red line. Change this into a brighter color. I'll make it a light cyan. Visual order, bring the front. So here's the prediction, ladies and gentlemen. Rallying up into this zone here, into the mid-end of April, 425, 435 area, rolling downward into a wave 2 correction, targeting the 395 to 405 area, and then rolling back upward, which will eventually get us, and again, might be kind of hard to see here, but will eventually get us up into the 450, 460, maybe 465 area as a wave 3, start of wave 3. So again, we are moving very consolidatedly into this sideways channel. We still have a wave 5 move to the upside. I believe we're done with the wave 4 correction. You have an A move here, B move here, and then that moves us to an A, B, C pattern, which moves us to a wave 4 correction down here. This bottom, this capitulation bottom that I called, looks very solid to be able to move us into a very strong upward trend, targeting 410 or higher. Remember, once we get above 410, that's a critical level in the past. Once we get above 410, then we are safely into confirmed long upward trending. Okay, please come visit my website. Come take a look at what I do. Remember, you can get started. Special deal, $34.99, 60-day trial. Support my research. If I'm helping you make money, if I'm helping you navigate these trends, come over and support me. Support what I do. The next version of these cycle patterns is going to be for gold. It looks very exciting, and I'm actually making some improvements to the TT3 MACD scanner. The objective of the TT3 MACD scanner is to provide you good trend following directions, something that you can use to trade. If you're new at trading and you're struggling, remember the easiest, safest bet is that 60-65% in the middle of a trend, not trying to capture tops or bottoms. I know a lot of people try to do it, but in reality, trying to grab that 50, 60, 65% in the middle of a good trend is ideally what you want to try to do, okay? Like, for example, catching this type of a trend, or let me spread this out, you know, catching this strong downtrend here, or this strong trend here. We just had this big rally up, and now this rollover. Now, guess what, folks? We're going to be looking at a potential nice solid move to the upside, a series of weekly moves that could do something like this. Up another 2.5%, come back down, consolidate. Up 2.5%, maybe 3.5%, come down, consolidate. And then up again, another 3.5%, and then come down and consolidate. Eventually, we're going to get above 410. That's when we're going to see a bit more of an explosive move. But this move will be a wave 5 pattern. So understand that it will be a wave 5 pattern, can be equal to or greater than wave 3, and it will likely roll up, roll down, roll up, roll down, and then roll up to a final peak up around 430, 435. So we need to be aware of the long-term structure and price as we're trying to trade this. Okay, guys, hope you enjoy my research. Share it with your friends. Tell people what I do. Come over and support my research. Take advantage of my 60-day trial. It really does help me. And like I said, I continue to improve all of the research that I'm doing as I go forward. Thanks again, guys.